Well now. This is my 16-foot flat deck that I haul my side-by-side on and or other ATVs and other pieces of equipment such as my tractor. This side looks okay. This side, the back wheel is not right. Front one's fine. Back wheel is not right. So I first thought, okay, maybe I bent the axle. Well, I kind of did. The bend in the axles upwards that you see in here, with pretty much any trailer, is right. That's what you want. As weight goes on the trailer, those axles actually straighten out. But here's my problem. Get down on the ground in the ants. You see that little notch? That's kind of right here-ish, right above that wire. That's not supposed to be like that. The whole axle on this end is bent up. It's supposed to be straight, and it is this way, not this way. So, this trailer is 10 years old. It really doesn't owe me anything. I kept on maintenance to it, you know, done bearings and brakes and that kind of stuff, but it's time to dig into these axles, because it's like that because the axles are actually rusting out. And actually you can see right here, that is the tire rubbing on the inner fender. It's not good. It's going to ruin my tire. It's going to cause an accident on the highway. Don't want that. Got to fix this because I want to go some other places with my side-by-side. So, let's fix it. LWL Trailers, by the way, fantastic company to deal with. They're actually made in the Maritimes here. LWL is Link Letter Welding. Prince Edward Island. Made in Prince Edward Island. Great company to deal with. Okay, so let's get at this. I'm going to have to take the fenders off. I'm going to take the wheels off. Probably that's the only thing I'm going to get to tonight because I'm losing daylight. It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it's still light enough to do a little bit of work out here. But let's get that done and move on. Galvanized trailer doesn't rust, but the hardware that holds pieces together are sea solid, some of them. So yeah, that went a little longer than I expected. All right, so now that we got the rims and tires and fenders off, take a look at that. That's the problem one, and that's what notified me, if it'll focus. That is very, very thin steel. That's where it's kinked. So something, pothole, whatever, hit this tire in particular during travel when I had a load on it. And it kinked that part of the axle tube. And if I look over here, in this one, look how much that is pocked out. That one's going to be next. So, yeah. I was thinking about maybe saving the brakes, like all of the brake components. But I know the bearings in those are 5 years old. The brakes, I take them apart every year. I don't know, bud. These are kind of newish. I know that I just replaced these U-bolts, these axle bolts, not too long ago. The bushings and the springs are good. I've done those. But I don't know, bud. probably gonna just get an axle assembly, I think, so that everything's nice and fresh. I can get another 10 years out of it. Okay, well, I'm gonna pick this video up probably tomorrow or whenever I can get at this again. Okay, we are back at it. So there's a bit of a breeze blowing today. I should have started a little bit more earlier in the morning when it wasn't so hot, but it is what it is. I had to sleep in today. I am just burnt out. So anyway, first thing I need to do before dropping these axles is I need to disconnect all of these lines, these brake lines. And you can kind of see that the wires go through the axle tubes to go over to the other side. So I really only need to drop this over this side and the one in the back, because this is four-wheel braking. So I got to get that off, and then I have to start taking some bolts out for the axles. I just want to quickly touch on the build quality in this LWL trailer. Like, these electrical connections have never been apart. I've never had any problems ever with the lights on this trailer in 10 years. So these 3M connectors, where they've got the brake signal wires going into the actual magnets for the brakes, were not only 3M connectors, so high quality connectors, they pumped them full of dielectric grease before they sealed them up on every one of these. Like, it's just awesome. Love to see that. Oh, that breeze is fantastic. So, because these are underslung axles, I can't just unbolt the U-bolts and drop the axle, because they're on top of the springs. So what I need to do, or what I'm going to do, is I'm going to put my jack underneath the axle to support it, take the bolts of the spring out, and then I think what I'm going to have to do is, I need the jack for the other side, so I'm going to have to, I've got a strap here that I'm just going to strap underneath the axle and then lower the jack so that that side of the axle is supported, so it doesn't drop all the way down when I jack, or when I take that side out, because if not, it's going to torsion those spring equalizer hangers there too much, and I don't want that to happen, because it'll put all the weight of the axle on those, and I don't want that to do that. So that's what I think I'm going to do. That's the plan. Reverse. Alright, now I should be able to drop this right to the ground and pull it out from underneath. Okay. Like I say, I could probably save these, but those nuts and bolts, they ain't coming off. And I'm not going to screw with them. So, okay. Okay, now that both axles are out of there, I gotta take the springs off, because I'm gonna reuse the springs and the mounting hardware. That's all good. U-bolts are new-ish, like a year old. They're fine. Okay, so I gotta get those off, and then we gotta measure axles. Okay, well, I'm as far as I can get without parts. I've got everything off, stripped off the axles. It is hot now. It's like 3 o'clock. It's the heat of the day. Anyway, I gotta measure out the axles. How you measure these out is quite specific. So you need the mounting surface, wheel to wheel. Not the hub, not the drum, the mounting surface. That is very important. So best way to do that is take a straight edge, go up on both sides, straight edge on both sides, and measure across. And then that should get you the actual mounting surface outside to outside for your axle measurement. You also need to know, obviously, what weight rating that your axles are. These are 3,500 pounds with brakes. And then you need to go and measure out your spring perch. So basically, center this hole to center that hole, and that'll get your spring perch distance. And if you're replacing springs, you're gonna need to do measurement of your springs eye to eye. Just bring your spring in. And most of the guys who are a reputable shop, even if your springs are completely flat and worn right out, they can measure and then compensate for that in their system. So anyway, I gotta get new axles. So as far as I can get on this clip anyway. Hold, please. So, 4 weeks later, we have some axles. My God, it's hot right now. It's mid-July now. When I started this, it was mid-June. How to get these axles made? Frameco? Is that where they come from? I don't know. They're made in Quebec. So at least they're made with maybe Canadian steel. I don't know. Elbows up, fellas. Anyway, yeah. These are galvanized axle tubes, as you can tell. So I did pay a little bit more for these, but hopefully they'll last a little bit longer. I'm still going to undercoat them anyway. But, yeah. So they come pre-wired, which is nice. So they should be pretty easy install. Got some new... Don't need to see that ridiculous bill. So anyway, yeah. Next. Oh God, it's hot. The sun went away, but still brutal. It's like 30 degrees. Alright, so your trailer might be set up a little bit different than mine, but the two leads, power leads from the plug, the trailer plug, to power the brakes is on one side of my trailer, and that's on the passenger side. This is going to be the driver's side here. So, okay, chickens are fighting. So basically, if your tube comes pre-wired like this one, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't, just run your wire. It's only a 2-wire. Polarity doesn't matter here because you're just creating a circuit, and it needs resistance. That's what a magnet is. It's a coil. So we're basically going to have to join that wire to that wire, that wire to that wire, or vice versa. Doesn't matter. All right, that's that side. So now we just need to pull the axles underneath the trailer and start mounting everything up. And that's going to be tomorrow. Probably end up having to go back and forth, side to side, to try to get one or the other bolts started, because this whole leaf is this way right now because the other end of the axle is only suspended right now on the strap. So I'm going to go over that side and try to square it up a little bit so these bolts will go in. So you'll notice that when I put the U-bolts on, I didn't crank them down very tight. You want to kind of do that later on, because we're into a situation now where I actually need to push the spring this way because it wasn't square onto the saddle. So you want them loose so you can just kind of adjust as necessary so that you can get everything lined up. Like that. Alright, so before I finalize all my connections here, I left everything loose just in case for any reason I had to drop these axles. These morettes are not staying here. This is just temporary to make sure that my circuitry is right. So in order to test all this, we're going to make sure everything's loose. I already checked the other side, that's loose. I'm going to go pull the emergency pin to put battery power into here, test to make sure that the magnets are actually magnetizing, working. So that's only temporary. Don't use morettes. Alright. Yep. Good. Got to finalize it. Obviously, the entire time that this thing is going down the road, these wires are going to be vibrating, so do your best, get good connections. I ran out of the self heat shrink connectors, so I'm just using regular insulated butt connectors here, but I've got some good heavy duty shrink wrap. Go over them. Don't forget to tie in the other side too. Hopefully that'll shrink down enough, but who knows. We shall see. Probably not, but it'll be a little bit better. I've got some dielectric grease in there too, so every little bit helps. That depends on the U-bolt size, but I normally torque these down to about 40 foot-pounds. Alright, so we've double-checked everything. I pulled the pin twice on the emergency brake to make sure that all these drums are going to stop spinning when I do. We've got all of our bolts tightened up. We've got our axle U-bolts tightened up. And before I go any further, I use this trailer in the wintertime, so all kinds of crud and salt like that gets inside of these drums. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to pop the dust covers off of these. I'm going to pull everything apart, and I'm actually going to put anti-seize on the pins where the cam opens up the brake and around where the bottom end of it pivots so that nothing seizes. If you live in the Rust Belt in the US, you're in the same thing. Up here in Canada, that's the norm. That's the norm of what we got to deal with. I like the other ones that I had that had that little retaining thing that you could actually just pop out in a second. Boy, that's a soft cotter pin. At least they greased it from factory. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Okay. Okay. I would kind of like to take that adjuster right off and clean that out and then lubricate that, because that's going to be an issue in the future. Just an ounce of preventative maintenance now will help you a lot going down the road when you got to start working on this again. Okay. That's the piece that is going to be the troublesome part. That needs a good dose of that right there. There we go. Just do that about 3 more times and we'll be golden. Well, other than undercoating the axles and putting the rims and tires on and just doing a road test, putting the fenders back on, I'm just going to end the video here because there's not much else to see. But anyway, hopefully you got some information out of how to go ahead and swap out your axles if you need to. So, yeah, everything works as far as I know, and I just greased everything, took everything apart, and like I said, an ounce of prevention now is worth its weight in gold later on, because everything's going to be seized up by the time you're actually going to work on things again. So take the time, do it right. Anyway, hope you got something out of this, and we'll see you in the next run. Raw Guy out.